After 6 months of learning the US market, I finally invested in the US, and today I'm going to talk all about that. So let's get started. First, we'll talk about US versus Canada and what made us go to the US. Then we'll do a site visit. So we actually went to Ohio, saw the building. I'll show you, a few clippings of the entire thing that's happening. So it'll be pretty interesting. I think so. And then we'll talk about the numbers, which is the most important thing. And stay tuned. There'll be a lot of numbers. You might have to pause the video, but it'll be very, very fascinating to see how numbers can be very different from how it is in Canada. And then finally, I'll talk about how we did it and how you can do it too. Before I start, I really want to say, if you like this channel, if you are liking the content, there'll be more of this coming. Do subscribe to the channel. It'll really help the channel to grow and reach more people like you. Now first, let's talk about why invest in the US over Canada. And the biggest reason is average home prices in US are way lower. So we invested in Ohio, and there you can actually find a duplex for as little as $100,000, $120,000, and a really nice looking duplex which is rented for like $2,000 for $160,000. And even in some of the more expensive places, the average price of a home is way less than what you would find in major town centers in Canada. The second most important point is US is 10 times bigger than Canada, not just in population, but also in GDP and also in opportunities. Third, and probably the most important point, is that it is very landlord friendly. Now, Canada is very socialist when it comes to real estate. You cannot get the tenants out. It has to be a major breach in contract. Then in most of Canada, there is rent control where you cannot increase the rents by more than 2-3%, where in many states of the US, if the tenant is not paying rent, you can get them out. You can give them notices even if the contract is not up for renewal. However, in most places, you would be able to increase the rents as per the market values as of today. Like in Ohio, the rents have increased by over 18% in the last 1 year. And I'll show you in the numbers how we'll be increasing rents after renovating the units and the building. And finally, and we'll talk about this in this video a lot, the numbers make a lot more sense. Now, before I talk about numbers, let's go to Ohio and see firsthand what the property looks like. Now, this building is 20 minutes from Cleveland, Ohio, and बहुत ही exciting feeling आ रही थी to visit our first apartment building ever. So we did not plan this trip honestly, and therefore we could not give 24-hour notices to the tenants, and we can't show you the actual units. But we visited a nearby place which had a similar unit to just get a feel of how the units look like. Now, we could not visit the units, but we could go into the common areas, and I was fascinated. I had seen this video earlier where this was full of furniture, and now things were looking a lot better. Though we did not have the light because there's still work happening, but by the look of it, you can imagine how much improvement there could be made by having good lights and good fixtures in the basement. Now, these were the electrical panels which are already changed, and this increases value of the house by a lot. And these are the stores that are underused right now, because this place looks like a dungeon. Now, once all this is cleaned up and we make it look pretty, we will be getting $500 from the storage units and the laundry area as rent.
What I'm going to look for in a place is first of all, cost and return and equity. So, you're looking at stuff that's a lot less expensive here, and you're going to have more equity. Now, the other thing I look at is landlord-tenant laws. So we can get people out of here for 4 to 6 weeks. Okay, that's the eviction.
And if you have, 3 of these homes, that's, let's say $3,000 a month. That's a pretty good,
It's a chunk of change.
Yeah, that's good money.
And it's consistent because you've got good stuff. So our average tenant stays between 18 to 24 months. So if you buy good stuff, people stay because that's the key. And if they, we don't do any government funded tenants. We have 0.
Perfect. If you have anything, I'll put your number down in the description, and you can just call Brett. He's an educator. He has a YouTube channel as well. I'll put that in the description as well. He's amazing. Sorry?
I have a blog.
Yeah, he has a blog as well. So you send me the link and I'll put it in the description. But he's very passionate about the city, the things that...
I'm passionate about people making money.
Yeah. Alright, so मज़ा आया काफ़ी ज़्यादा. इसके अंदर ना हमने एक्चुअली 24 आवर्स का नोटिस दिया से पहले ही बोला था, तो हम अंदर ही जा पाए यूनिट्स के. वो हम कभी और करेंगे जब हमारे यूनिट्स रेनोवेट हो रहेंगे. अभी ना ये 8 के 8 यूनिट रेंटेड हैं, और हमने 2 से 3 यूनिट्स में हमने अभी उनको नोटिस दे रखा है बिकॉज उनकी लीज एक्सपायर हो रही थी, एक में रेंट नहीं दिया. And that's the difference between, here and there.
And do you know the good fact? This is a 130-year-old building.
बट आप देखोगे ये पूरी स्टोन फाउंडेशन है इसकी, तो इसके अंदर ना लकड़ी का इतना काम है नहीं, इट्स ऑल स्टोन फाउंडेशन। सो पुराने घर जो होते हैं बहुत पक्के बने होते हैं, एंड इसकी जो इंस्पेक्शन थी वो बहुत सही थी, और इसकी रूफ भी है। वो कभी और कभी आएंगे यहाँ पे और कभी खाली होगा तब देखेंगे, आई डोंट थिंक सो कभी होगा, बट ठीक है जो भी है। Alright, so let's talk about the numbers a little. So this is an 8-unit apartment building. It has all 1 bedrooms and the purchase price was $449,000, which is crazy. Now, we did buy this at below market value. So the market value of this will be about $525,000 to $550,000. There were certain reasons why the seller wanted to sell. They were retiring. They didn't want to take care of the property. And these properties are the best because there's nothing inherently wrong with the property. It's just that the current owner of the property does not want to go through with renovations as they are retiring. So the down payment for this one that we did was 25%, which is about $112,000. Now this property is a 100-year-old property. Therefore, we want to make sure that there's nothing wrong with the property and we wanted to get an inspection done. So that was $800. Then the legal charges were $4,200. And the reason for legal charges being so high is because we had to create a company. Now this particular property was bought by 4 partners. So we had to create an entity in the US, and that is expensive when you do it for the first time. Now when we are refinancing this, it will be all cheap, but right now we spent over $4,000 in legal charges. Then we had escrow, closing costs, fees, title insurance, everything costed about $23,000, and we had taken a private loan, so there are higher fees associated with that, and we'll talk about that, why we took that. The overall cash required to close this property was $140,000, and then we took a bridge loan of 1 year. And the reason why we took a bridge loan is because we are actually renovating the units, and in US what happens is most lenders, and if you go into a long-term mortgage, they'll have a break fee. They'll have a penalty if you break the mortgage early. And we wanted to refinance after 1 year because we are doing renovations. And therefore, we took a 1-year bridge loan. And that's for about $336,750. This is basically, the purchase price minus the down payment. And the interest rate was pretty high. It was 10%. And initially it was about 13%. And then we got a slightly better deal. So it was about 10%. And we are also putting in $60,000 of renovations, and I'll talk about where we are spending that money. Now, a lot of people actually concentrate on interest rates, but we concentrated on numbers. And I'll prove to you, despite this being a 10% interest rate, it still makes sense to buy this property at this level. The monthly gross rents from the 8 units is $5,300. This includes $100, which is coming from the laundry. Now, this is amazing. A lot of people who are investing in real estate, they understand the 1% rule, which what that means is that the overall rent that you are getting, the gross rent should be 1% of the purchase price of the value. So this in fact is over 1%, and this kind of a deal is really difficult to find in a market like Canada right now. So the mortgage payment is about $2,900, then we have property tax about $500, insurance about $400. Insurance is slightly higher, and this will slightly be lower after we change the electrical panels, which we have included in our $60,000 budget. But right now the insurance is at $400. The utilities, trash, everything inclusive is about $600. Most of the people actually pay their own utilities. The property management is about 7%, so that's $364. This is 7% of the rents that you are getting. The total expenses come out to $4,767, and the cash flow on day 1 is still $533. Now, I have not included a lot of vacancy because there is a wait list of candidates who are waiting to get into this house. It's a really nice building in a very good neighborhood, and there are not a lot of multifamily units there. And what I've also not included is maintenance, because we are, any which ways renovating the unit, and we have a separate budget of $60,000 for that. And therefore, I have not included maintenance for now. But usually you would also include the maintenance when you are doing these calculations. But right now it's $500 cash flow positive every single month. Now, this is not the reason why we bought it. So we are putting $60,000 of renos in the next 1 year as the units get empty. But the big thing was that there were certain things that we could actually change to increase the value upfront in the common areas as well. For example, the electrical panels were the age-old knob and tube, and that actually means that the insurance is very high. It's a very old wiring, so we are updating all the electrical panels in the common area, and we are also cleaning up the laundry area, and it's a coin laundry system, so we are getting $100 a month on average. And I'm hoping that when we renovate the unit and it looks nicer and it's all painted, we'll have a lot more coming from that laundry as well. Now, interestingly, in the basement, there were a lot of furniture pieces, old furniture, which was kept. It was very, very messy. And behind that, there were storage units, which were not used right now. So we are cleaning up the entire basement, and we have 8 storage units, which can be rented out at about $50 to $60 a month. And that brings us $400 of additional rent, which we are not getting right now. Then we have minor repairs in the units. The units will be repainted so that it looks nice. We'll replace a few appliances. For example, a couple of units have faulty, microwaves. One of the units have a stove that needs to be changed. One of the units has a refrigerator that needs to be changed. Again, it's an old unit, right? That's why we have to change a few things. And that, when we did all the math, came out to about $50,000 to $60,000, which we'll be spending in fixing up the units and the appliances. And we are not doing this all at once, especially the units, because most of these leases are coming up for renewal in about 3 to 6 months, and as they're coming out to renewal, we are giving the tenants notice and they will leave, and then we'll renovate the units and then we'll get new tenants at new rents. So right now the rents are about $550 to $700 depending on the size of the unit and how good the unit looks like, and the overall rents that we are getting is $5,300 a month. And after renovations, we can actually increase this to about $875 per unit, which is the market rent right now. We have actually taken a little bit conservative estimate. We might get a little bit higher. Plus we have the storage units that we can be rented out separately. Overall, the rents will increase to about $7,500 a month. That's a 41% increase in rents. Now, after the renovations are complete, because we are changing the electrical panels and we are changing the units as well, and we are repainting and the rents are increasing, the value of the entire building increases when we increase rents because there's more income coming in, and therefore our $449,000 building, which right now will be worth about $525 in itself because we bought it below market rents, will increase to about $675,000 on a conservative estimate. And that's a 50% increase in the building cost. Now these numbers might look very staggering, but we also bought the building way lower than market value, and therefore these numbers look a little bit, like on the higher side. But the average unit price in the place that we have bought is about $70,000 to $80,000 per unit. And this is a pretty nice looking building with amenities and storage units, and therefore we are very confident of getting this value, which is $675,000. Now let's look at the comparison of how the numbers look like on a monthly basis right now and how the cash flow would look like after we renovate the units and increase rents. Now in 1 year, after all the units have new tenants in and increased rents, the rents will go up by $700 to $7,500. This includes the $400 coming from the storage units, and it also includes the $100 that's coming from the laundry. The monthly expenses will reduce in terms of mortgage payment. Why? Because we are getting a much better rate. Hopefully we'll get better than 6.99 as well. I've just taken a little bit conservative estimate. There's no point of taking a lower rate right now when it's not available. So that's about $2,200 of mortgage payment. Everything else remains the same. Property management goes up by a little because it's 7% of the rents, and the rents have increased. But the total expenses are about $4,200, which is $500 lower, and the rents have increased by a lot. So overall cash flow is close to $3,300. And again, there'll be some vacancy that we can take here, and there'll be some maintenance that we can take here, but still we'll cash flow over $2,500 to $3,000 every single month from this building. This is a perfect burst strategy where you buy, you renovate, you rent it out at the market rents, and then you refinance. So that's what we are doing. The $449,000 building will become $675,000, hopefully more, but let's say at least $675,000. Now, we put in $200,000, right? So it was down payment of $140,000 plus closing costs, whatever we, had to incur, plus the renovations of $60,000. So that's $200,000 that we put in. And again, there are 4 partners, so it was split between 4 partners. And the new loan that we take on $675,000 is about 75% of this. So it's like buying our own building with a 25% down payment. So your overall loan will become $506,000. We need to pay off the previous loan, which will be worth again $335,000. We need to pay that off first. And we'll have closing costs again. We'll have lawyer fees. All that is always there when you close a property. So our cash out overall will be over $150,000. Of the $200,000 that we invested, we'll get $150,000 back in 1 year. Now that's not all. We are all in into this property for only $50,000, but we'll still make cash flow. Our monthly rents are about $7,500. Our mortgage payment, because we have taken more loan, is now $3,331. So it's about $1,000 more than what we had taken in the previous slide. Our other expenses remain the same. Our overall expenses will be over $5,000 now. So $5,328. We'll still make $2,000 plus cash flow every single month. Now again, we will have vacancy, we will have maintenance, but $2,000 a month is enough to cover all that. And there's a very high chance that we'll be able to increase rents every single year, and that would add to the cash flow every single year. And hopefully we are able to get a much better rate in the next 3 to 4 years, and this cash flow is going to increase to over $3,000 in a very short duration. Now honestly, Ohio was not my first preference when I was looking at properties in the US, but this deal was so amazing, and when I ran the numbers, it was so good that we had to really invest. So we were 4 investors who got together. I obviously had help from my coach who teaches me how to do US investing, so that was really amazing to have his support there. And if all goes well, this is going to be a very lucrative investment for the long term. Now, I might come across as a very risk-taking person, and honestly, we did take a flyer on this one, but the numbers made sense and I don't want to lose money. Therefore, I made sure I learned how US investing works, the markets that we need to invest in, how lending works, how structure works, how taxation works, which is a really big one that I'll probably touch upon in a later presentation. But it's very important to be in close circles of people who have invested in the US before. I invested in a coach that taught me US investing, and that was a very important step towards this investment. And honestly, I'll get all my money back and 10 times over if this works out the way we want it to be. Now, joining these masterminds and joining these classes and watching these YouTube videos is just not enough. Once you know how to do it, we need to act on it. So once I understood how to do it, and I might lose all the investment, it's very, very unlikely, but I might lose all the investment. And that's what brings me to my third point, do not go all in. What I mean by that is if you have $50,000 in your bank account and that's all the money that you have, do not invest that in US or anywhere else, to be honest, because you need an emergency fund. So do not go all in into deals because these are for the long term. You'll not get an immediate investment back. Not all properties would require enough renovation so that you can actually get your money back after refinance. And not all refinances can work. This, like any other investment, comes with risks. If the market goes down, I may not be able to get out all my money, and I'm okay with that because I didn't go all in into this. In 10 years in real estate, you will always make money. And while we are doing that, we'll be making about $2,000 to $3,000 of cash flow every single month. So it's a no-brainer for me as long as I'm okay to keep my money in the property for about 10 years. Now, I spent a lot of money in my learning and a lot of time to get to this point where I could make the US investment, and I want to share all of that with you, which is what I'll be doing through this channel. But in the meantime, if you are looking to invest in the US, I would highly recommend that you subscribe to the Grow in US mailing list. The link is in the description below. I have access to amazing people in the US who are sending me deals, and I would love for you to have a piece of it. Now, it might not come every week, it might not even come every month, but whenever there's a good opportunity, I would send it to the mailing list. And if you want to partner, we will get on a call and we'll see if it works for you. Now, I'd highly recommend only if you're a serious buyer and if you're thinking of the US to subscribe to this mailing list. I would not want to spam you if it's not important to you. But if US is something that you are thinking about in future, this mailing list is for you. That's all I have for today. I hope you liked this video. If you did, do like this and share it with someone who wants to invest in the US. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please do that because I'll be making a lot of these videos which will help you grow into your financial freedom. That's all I have for today. मिलते हैं अगली वीडियो में, तब तक के लिए bye bye.